This is Allied Services Friday Night Rivals on MyTV WQMY.
Welcome inside Blue Jays Stadium. We're in SB, Columbia County. Tonight, it's a Pennsylvania Heartland Conference matchup between Hughesville and Central Columbia. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Ide, and welcome to week number 4 of high school football. Joining me in the booth tonight, Hall of Fame coach Stan Kaharski. Paul Grippy will be on the sidelines and join us shortly. And coach, we look at these two teams. We see one team looking for a win, another team looking to keep a winning streak alive.
Well, Hughesville has unfortunately been on a losing streak since last season. They were winless, 0-10, and they've lost their first 3 games this week. Talking to Adam Guerra, their head coach, he pointed out that they played relatively well in the early part of the game last week against South Williamsport. Unfortunately, they turned the ball over too often. So their task is to maintain good ball control and hopefully be able to move the ball down the field and keep the Blue Jays offense off the field.
Central Columbia, it's homecoming. They're 1-2 during Scott Dennis's regime. How does that affect the team?
Well, you hope it doesn't, but you never can tell with young teenage football players. I said this earlier that if your veterans are focused, that's great. You might have younger players who haven't experienced the hoopla of the homecoming activities, and they may not be as focused. So one of the tasks of the team leaders particularly is to keep those younger players on task.
The Spartans have gone to the passing game. We'll see a lot of our wide receiver, Ethan Snyder, who's our Toyota Spotlight player of the game for the Spartans tonight.
Yeah, he's been one of their productive players. He's leading in receptions. He's got 9 for the year, and he's also their leading tackler. So they're probably going to have to rely on him quite a bit tonight.
Central Columbia has a new quarterback. They've gone to the passing game, but Scott Dennis wants to get that running game going. So we'll see some Trey Johnson tonight. He's their other Toyota Spotlight player.
Last week, the quarterback McNellis was 6 for 6 to start the football game. 4 minutes into the game, it was 14-0. So Scott Dennis is he's a Berwick guy. He wants to run the football as much as he possibly can, but I'm sure he's looking for balance. But as I said to him when we spoke before the game, you go to Plan B. If Plan A isn't working, and last week they didn't rush the ball as effectively as he would have liked, and they threw the ball, and they were very successful doing that.
A little bit of fall weather tonight. Will it remain that way? Let's check in now with Allie Debicki from the Fox 56 News, first at 10.
Good evening, Bob. A cooler night across the area. We actually have temperatures sitting into the 60s as of kickoff time, and where we'll stay tonight is mainly into the 60s through the end of the game. We're really not expecting temperatures to bottom out lower than the upper 50s through the overnight period. That's because we're holding on to the cloud cover across our area. Now, some of us may see a few breaks in the cloud tonight for the Hughesville versus Central Columbia game. Good news across the board, though. We are looking dry, and that will make for some pretty good football on the field. We'll send it back to you, Bob, at the field.
Thank you, Allie. We are ready for this Pennsylvania Heartland Conference matchup. It's Hughesville and Central Columbia. Next.
You're watching Allied Services Friday Night Rivals on MyTV WQMY.
Here come the Spartans of Hughesville, followed by the home team of Central Columbia. We are ready for Friday Night Rivals, but we have to talk to Paul Grippy first about the Spartans of Hughesville. Paul?
Well, Bob, Hughesville comes in with some work to do. Started the season 0-3, but 0-3 against some pretty good teams. Mifflinburg, Montoursville, South Williamsport all beat the Spartans. And now Hughesville comes in on a 13-game losing streak. So they went winless in 2018. Want to turn that around. A couple of things in their favor. The last time they won here was Adam Guerra's first game as head coach back in 2016. In fact, he was only an interim head coach filling in that week. He became the head coach actually 2 years ago, but that one game in 2016, he was the acting head coach, and Hughesville beat Central Columbia. Throw in the fact that today is Friday the 13th, and we have the full moon, and Adam Guerra is back now as head coach, and maybe the tide turns for these Hughesville Spartans. We'll see how it goes. Packed crowd here tonight, and we're set for kickoff, Bob. Hopefully a good one.
Thank you, Paul. Hughesville did win the toss, and they want the Keystone College kickoff, and that will be taken by Mason Yorty. He'll do the honors for the Blue Jays of Central Columbia. Brendan Knight and Devin Swank back to receive. We're underway in SB. 20 up men. That's Pickeno, and Hughesville will have it, and we'll see our first quarterback of the night, and that's senior Jacob Corson, coming off his best game last week. We'll talk about that in a moment. He has 310 yards, 4 interceptions, Coach, but no TDs.
He's going to have to make sure that he doesn't turn the ball over at all. That's going to be one of the challenges for the Spartans of Hughesville.
Well, they have 11 turnovers in 3 games. It's well documented. They had 4 last week against South Williamsport, 6 against Montoursville the week before. They will throw the ball around tonight. Instead, they'll hand it off. First play goes to Michael Delina for a yard. And let's check out the offense. The Quad A Driving Academy starting lineup. There you see. They won a wing T offense. Brendan Knight and Pickeno in there. The wide receivers, we talked about Snyder. Chance Webb will be the tight end. Up front, not that big and not much experience. In fact, Josh Applegate is a center right in the middle of things. And one thing Coach will notice is the size differential between Hughesville and
difference.
Central.
And if they are a wing T team, they certainly haven't been the first 2 plays. They've opened up their offense a little bit. That was a pass that couldn't be caught.
Well, let's talk about Corson a little bit more. As I said last week against South Williamsport, he was 16 of 26, 225 yards, 2 interceptions in that game, and there was a career high for yardage, but again, no touchdowns.
Well, he threw, I think, he's thrown for 310 yards in the 3 games. So it's not bad, but it's got to be better if they're going to be effective against the stout defense.
The Spartans offense missing probably their best player, Colton Yoakum, ineligible for tonight's game. He is a senior running back. Here comes the blitz, and we're going to have stoppage of play by our referees tonight. There's Joe Clibon.
We have a delay of game penalty.
Delay of game for Hughesville. There you see the referees tonight in this Pennsylvania Heartland Conference matchup. So 3rd and long, facing a team that only averages 184.7 per game of total yardage.
Here we see a trips formation.
Here comes a big blitz. Corson just lays it up. It goes out of bounds, and the Spartans will be forced to punt.
He was under a lot of pressure. Dylan Devlin pressured Corson. He had to get rid of that ball or he's going to be sacked. Bob, one of the things I noticed that Jacob Corson's going over towards the sidelines to get the play, and then he's got to come all the way back to the opposite hash mark, and that the play clock is running down pretty low. Another penalty.
Another penalty. Legal substitution.
Legal substitution penalty against Hughesville.
That's not what you want. Your first possession, you go 3 and out. Now your penalty, you're back inside your 30-yard line. You're actually inside the 25-yard line.
Junior Dylan Pickeno does the punting.
Jacob Reefers deep for the Blue Jays.
Along with Trey Johnson. Ball taken right at midfield by Zach Smith, and that's where Central Columbia will come out, and we'll see Garrett McNalis, the tall junior at 6'5", 406 yards on this season. 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Did have a nice week last week against Lehighton.
This is his first year as a starting quarterback, and he'll need to cut down on those interceptions, but he certainly has the potential to be a very effective quarterback.
Comes out and hits Eli Morrison for about 15 yards.
That's a nice pass. from the near hash mark to the bench. He ran an out route by the receiver around the 40-yard line.
So as much as they want to run the ball, and we know he's talked about that, Coach Dennis has, he comes out throwing the ball because that's what their success has been first part of the season.
And that's what you have to do. You have to use your player's skill set to be able to be effective.
Johnson up for a couple. Here now the Quad A Driving Academy starting lineup. The offense for Central Columbia. Raleigh O'Neal is the fullback. He's a senior. Wide receivers and tight end, pretty good players. They have a lot of experience out there. Xander Bradley has 2 touchdowns and 14 catches. And up front, they had to replace some guys, but they're looking pretty good. They have a couple seniors in there mixed with a couple juniors. Jake Moyer is only a sophomore center. Johnson finds the hole, and he finds the first down inside the 25.
It's an I formation slot to the bench side of the field, and Knight made a great cut. And you see he cuts back towards the opposite sideline. Very effective run by number 25, Troy Johnson.
Just 3 returning starters on this Blue Jay team from a year ago. A team we saw last year against Lewisburg, pretty good running back in there. So Johnson was the backup last year. Austin Rainier, the sophomore, will see a bunch of work as well tonight. Nice hole for Johnson up inside the 15, and once again now Central Columbia in the Allied Services red zone.
It's a power play to the right. The offensive line of the Blue Jays is much larger than the defense of Hughesville. Coach Dennis mentioned at this point, he said his defense is really a little bit ahead of his offense. His offense has shown some maturity over the last 3 weeks.
Third game out of 4 at home for Central Columbia. Quick toss. Another big hole, and Johnson will go just be short of a touchdown. He tripped right about the half-yard line.
Troy Johnson showed great vision on that particular play. It was a toss to the bench. You'll see he cuts in and back outside and just misses getting into the end zone. Probably see a quarterback sneak here, Bob.
Well, when your quarterback is 6'5", he doesn't have to do much. Just kind of push ahead, right?
Just get that snap. Well, his guys up front have to push ahead.
So inside the Allied Services red zone. Johnson in for a Central Columbia W&L Subaru touchdown.
Tight formation, simply ran off tackle to the right for the first score with 8:12 to go in the first quarter. Very methodical drive.
Starting with good field position.
Excellent field position.
Here you see it.
You'll see they get the big push by the offensive line.
So out of the 50, Johnson had 35 of those on the ground. Yordi in for the PAT. It is up and good with 8:12 remaining in the first quarter. Central takes the early lead.
Showed a lot of leg on that.
On a beautiful evening in Espy, the home team, Central Columbia, takes the 7-0 lead. So that brings Yordi back out for the Allied Services and the Keystone College kickoff.
The District 4 AAA Championship and made the Eastern quarterfinal in the state tournament. Congratulations to Jen and Tolik.
Brendan Knight and Devin Swank back to receive. It is Keystone College kickoff taken from the 5 by Knight, and he gets walloped about the 20-yard line.
Knight on the return takes out to the 19-yard line. Tackled there by number 2, Dylan Devlin.
The Imagine getting a nurse's aide, scholarship, and tuition assistance while getting paid as a CNA. Allied Services has excellent career opportunities for RNs, LPNs, and CNAs. Visit allied-services.org/careers today.
Hughesville's second possession comes out 80 yards away from tying this game up. Nice catch by Pickeno out there. Oh,
That's
excuse me,
tough,
Ethan Snyder.
That's a tough pass to make from one hash to all the way to the other side of the field. Pickeno made a great effort, get up and high point at the football. You see here, catches it.
It was actually Ethan Snyder, our spotlight player of the game, and he came up limping a little bit. So we'll see. He's
the
still
leading,
hobbling.
He's the leading receiver up to this particular point.
How much will Hughesville run? I guess that will be the question tonight. They relied on the pass so much the last couple of games. Corson tucks it. He's going to be just short of a first down.
A lot of pressure through the right side of the offensive line of Hughesville and forced the quarterback to be flushed out of the pocket towards their bench. Third and very short here. Again, it's important for Hughesville to maintain some offensive thrust during the course of this game. They can't go 3 and out regularly.
Corson, for his career, he's thrown for 800 yards, 13 interceptions. He missed a considerable amount of time last year with an injury. That really did not help in Hughesville's offense. They get a first down. He gets it out to Joseph Swink. So a nice play there for Hughesville. Now let's take a look at the Quad A Driving Academy's defense for Central Columbia. They'll run a 3-5-3 this year, and they give up 167 yards per game. There you see the front three. The linebackers, there's 5 of them overall. Watch out for Austin Rayner. He has 18 tackles. And in the secondary, we'll take a look at that in a second. After this play, as Pickeno loses a couple. The secondary is Zach Smith, Eli Morrison, and Xander Bradley.
That play was the closest thing to a wing T play that we've seen up to this particular point. It appears that their approach in this game, Bob, is to be able to throw the football as often as they possibly can. They're going to have a tough time running. We see that the Blue Jays are getting a lot of penetration at the line of scrimmage.
Out to Swink again. For Corson, is the object getting the ball out quick tonight?
It is. He's getting a lot of pressure. In that 3-5, Coach Dennis spoke to me before the game. He said they're usually bringing at least 5. The difficulty that the offensive line has is that they don't know where those 5 are coming from because there's only 3 down defenders and the 5 linebackers are coming from different angles.
Blue Jays have 9 sacks on the year. Corson flushed out, and he can't hit his receiver out in the flat, and it goes incomplete. Trying to hit number 25, who we don't have on our roster. We'll have to check his name.
If you have difficulty running the football simply because of a size mismatch here, your option is to get the quarterback out in space and hopefully be able to complete consistently passes that he's capable of making.
Good high kick by Pickeno. It's returnable for Reefer, and he has good field position up inside Spartan territory.
Hughesville's possession that time, they kept the ball for a little bit less than 3 minutes. That's not going to get it done. They're going to have to be able to sustain.
Well, we have a hold against the Blue Jays, so that will back them up. And they'll start around their own 42.
Ball's on the near hash. There's a holding penalty on the return.
Here's our Grotto Pizza keys to the game for Central Columbia, Coach.
There's no question that they want to establish the run game. And we've seen in that first drive that Johnson did a great job of moving the ball towards the red zone.
And they don't want to let down because it's homecoming.
We've talked about the focus, and it doesn't appear, at least for the first 7 minutes of this game, that there's not a focus on the part of the Blue Jays.
So McNalis underneath center. Johnson off the toss. Waits for his block and brings it up for about 4.
What we had in that particular play was a formation you don't see a whole lot of. All 3 backs are in the backfield, and it was simply a toss. You have a lot of bodies out in front of that, and it was good for about 4.5 yards. I think we're going to see a little bit of balance here between the run and the pass. Here we see the same backfield set with 2 split ends. We have an injury.
We do in the secondary.
That's Corson.
And that's Corson. So that's the biggest fear. If you are Hughesville's coach, you lose your quarterback. We'll have to see what it is.
And guess who moves in there according to their depth chart? Ethan Snyder, their top receiver, top tackler. He has to move from being a receiver to being the signal caller.
I also saw number 12 throwing Jediah Webb, but he's only a freshman. So we'll take a look at the Quad A Driving Academy Hughesville defense now. Defense that is giving up 48 points per game. They'll run a 4-4-3 that you see up front. Burkhart and Snyder, just a freshman and sophomore. The linebackers are Pickeno's Goodwin Delina as well. The secondary, Snyder and we talked about Corson being hurt. Also in there, Joseph Swink. So Corson gets taken off, and they'll bring it down for 2nd down.
That's Troy Johnson again on the toss to the outside. Most of the running game has been to the perimeter, and they've had good success. Bob, one of the things that we see here, you see a lot of blue shirts and getting on the bodies and knocking them backwards. Makes it easy for the back. Unfortunately, there's the size of Hughesville, both physically and in numbers, does not bode well for them. I believe they have 8 or 9 players going both ways, and that's going to wear on them, especially physically if they're overmatched.
Corson is back into the game. He's on the near side here. Johnson cuts back, avoids a couple tackles, and moves through for a 13-yard gain.
Another toss to the short side of the field. You see the Garrett Carters leading the parade down the field, and Troy Johnson shows a lot of power.
Chase Snyder on the tackle. Couple highs for Central this year. They had 90 yards rushing against Lehighton last week, and McNalis threw for 219 yards passing. In their win over Lehighton, that was 26-0. Here's Rayner, his first shot at carrying it. And a flag comes in late.
That's a hit with the helmet. What he calls on this particular play.
It's about a 7-yard gain. It's a hold, and that will negate that run.
This appears to be what Coach Dennis wants to do. Toss right, toss left. Of course, they hurt themselves here with the holding penalty. Negates a pretty effective run.
So it's 1st down again. So under 3 minutes here in Espy. Some numbers for Central Columbia. The average 56 rushing yards per game, 104 on offense, 160 overall. As Rayner gets the carry again, almost just past the original line of scrimmage.
Central Columbia is in a formation that is a little bit different. They have 2 split ends, your 5 interior linemen, and your 3 backs almost a wishbone configuration, and all they're doing is either power to one side or the other, or a toss to one side or the other. Very simplistic, but very effective.
Back to Johnson, nice hole right side, shoots through, first down and more, about 10 for him. And he's starting to pile up the yardage.
The central offensive line is really getting off and creating holes, and we see that they're being led up in the holes by Dylan Devlin and, of course, Garrett Carter, who, by the way, according to Coach Dennis, has been showing a little bit of interest by Penn State. He's only a junior. He's 6'3", about 210, and I guess the people that come up here from Penn State said he passed the eye test.
That's the first step, right?
I guess it is, especially if you're only a junior. And they're looking at him as a linebacker.
Power eye look. Johnson's just getting it and waiting for his blocks.
He is, and there's another flag on the play. Another hold.
Well, that will drive a coach crazy when you have momentum going and everything.
You just don't want to do that. I don't know why we've had 2 holds in the last 3 plays. If we see a replay of that run, you'll see that, again, Garrett Carter really got to watch. You'll see 18 drive his man. Now, is that the hold? Who knows? The hands were inside the body.
Bring up a first down and 23.
So the ball is placed back at the 43-yard line. There is Coach Dennis, 4th season with Central Columbia. And since that first pass, the opening play of the game, they have not thrown the ball at all.
You're thinking the same way I was. They said that first down, it was a long pass that was thrown very effectively, perhaps to at least send a partial message, but it's been all run since then. So we're down to a little bit less than 1:20 to go in this first quarter, and it's been a run offensive approach. Here's a little different set now.
McNeil into the shotgun. Pump fake down the middle and overthrows intended receiver Garrett Carter, the tight end. So 3rd and long on the way.
I don't know if there was miscommunication there visually. He pump faked, but the receiver was open earlier. If he had let the ball fly and not let it sail, it would have been a completion at about the 25-yard line.
McNeil is only in his 4th start as a quarterback.
6'4",
6'5" listed.
And he's a left-hander.
Yep.
You have to coach left-handers a little bit differently. Ball comes out of their hands differently.
Coach Dennis mentioned that watching a left-handed throw is a little bit different. Plenty of time in there to stand and survey, but he throws it incomplete. In and out of the hands of his intended receiver, Jacob Reefer. So 4th down on the way, and the punt team will come in. So the drive stalls on a penalty.
Couple penalties, actually.
Couple, yeah.
Couple holding penalties, and give some credit to the Spartans. They're going to get the ball back with the 50 seconds to go in the quarter.
Yordi back to punt this one away. Knight back there. Just gets it away in the low snap. It's caught and taken by Piccino at the 9. 43 seconds left in a fast first quarter. One that has seen a lot of running from Central Columbia, but they only lead 7-0. There's Adam Gare. You saw him giving the play to Jacob Corson. He's in his 2nd season. He's not won a game as a head coach, but Paul did mention in our pregame.
As an interim coach.
As an interim coach, he did win here.
That still counts.
That does. And that was back in October of 2016. They won 47-28 here.
That was simply a quarterback power. Ball snapped to the Corson and took the ball off tackle.
Taken down for no gain on the play by number 41, Riley O'Neal.
You can understand, I think, why we're going to see a lot of passing on the part of Hughesville. They're physically overmatched up front, particularly.
And that's going to be the last play of the first quarter.
So that is the last play of the first quarter. They'll wind the time down and we'll take a break. So after one, it's the home team leading 7-0.
I'm joined by the ladies as we get ready to start the second quarter. They are the Figured Law Firm Scholared Athletes, one from each school represented here tonight. First from Hughesville, I have Rachel Bittler. Congratulations. Rachel is a member of the tennis team and the National Honor Society. And Virathon, she's also the president of the Hold Your Horses 4-H Club. So you actually compete in equestrian. What kinds of events do you enter?
I compete in ranch riding classes with my American Quarter Horse, and I just started showing my yearling miniature horse this year in 4-H.
You love horses, don't
Yeah.
you? Yep, I can tell. So congratulations. And from Central Columbia, this is Lauren Bull. She is a member of the soccer team, also plays basketball and track, National Honor Society, Academic All-Star Varsity Club. She is a nursing assistant, but right now injured, right? Soccer season, is that on hold? Can you make it back this season?
Right now, well, I have fractured my fibia. I have a high ankle sprain, and it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks to get back, but they're trying to get me back for playoffs, so fingers crossed, but we're just going to hope for the best.
Okay.
And I think the team will be fine.
All right, so I feel a little guilty keeping her on her feet right now. It's also homecoming. She is a member of the homecoming court, so best of luck. I could be talking to the homecoming queen. So congratulations to Rachel Bittler of Hughesville, Lauren Bull of Central Columbia, Bob, our two Figured Law Firm Scholar athletes tonight.
Congratulations to both of our deserving recipients. On the field, we had a couple plays, and now we might have some movement up front.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
And
you stay off that. Don't fall off any horns.
it is an automatic first down.
That's
because of that.
unforgivable.
Yep.
Fourth down, very short yardage to go. You can't go on a vocal count. You've got to hold your water and just wait for the ball to be snapped.
So that is a break for the Spartans. They continue this drive, which started at their own 9. Continue to try to run the ball. That's Delana, the sophomore, who came in averaging 6.5 per carry.
I'm sure if we asked Coach Weir how he was feeling about that first quarter, he'd probably say he's happy to get out with only a one touchdown deficit. They're running the football a little bit more effectively. They started inside their own 10-yard line. They're out to the 24-yard line.
Again, the best offense, the best defense is keeping the offense on the
That's
field,
what
right?
we said earlier, absolutely.
Try to throw it deep.
Corson's pass intended for number 19, Chance Webb.
So that was intended for Chance. Webb goes over his head. Third down upcoming.
Jake Reefer, bringing up a 3rd down and 9.
2 self-inflicted holding penalties really stymied Central Columbia from having another touchdown in this particular part of the game.
Corson rushed and taken down on the sack by number 41, Riley O'Neill. His first sack of the year. It'll be 4th down.
There you see there's 3 Blue Jays who are bursting through the line of scrimmage and putting pressure on Jason Corson.
Dylan Pickeno sent the punt away.
Dylan Pickeno back again to punt it away. Central will have excellent field position out of this. The high short kick, fair caught at the 45-yard line by Jake Reefer.
Parents, save money on your car insurance. Quad A Driving Academy is a certified PennDOT third-party tester. We have helped over 10,000 new drivers become safe and confident licensed drivers. Save money by checking us out at quadadrive.com.
Here comes that Central offense. Coach Dennis probably thought, I want to get a couple more touchdowns on the board. They go back to that ground game, and the offensive line was 8 yards downfield, so we'll give Johnson 10.
Simply a dive play to the right. The offensive line really knocking back the defensive front of the Spartans and pick up 9 yards on the part of Troy Johnson. He's run the ball very effectively so far in this game.
That's what Coach Dennis wanted to see from his offensive line. They worked on that a lot in practice. Another big push. Johnson's leg did not go down, no whistle. He gets back off the pile, and he goes in for a W&L Subaru touchdown for Central Columbia.
That's a smart football player, Bob. Everybody else stopped because they thought he was down. He certainly was not down. He was really propped up by people in front of him, and he bounced it out to his right and John it into the end zone.
That one goes 37 yards for Johnson's second TD of the game.
You have to play the whistle, and I guess there wasn't a whistle.
We have an official's timeout on the field.
Yordi in for his second extra point attempt. It is up and through. 8:24 remaining in the half. Central extends their lead 14-0. We are back in SP. Central Columbia extends their lead to 14-0. Bob Ide, Stan Koharski, and Paul Grippy here in SP for a Pennsylvania Heartland Conference matchup. And it's a Keystone College kickoff. Mason Yordi has it teed up.
I wonder if he's a soccer player. He's only about 130 pounds, and he really has kicked the ball quite effectively.
Picked up by Snyder. He breaks through. Almost broke that one to Ethan Snyder. He comes up to the 37-yard line. Hughesville goes back to work, coming off of probably their best offensive performance last week against South Williamsport. They actually led 7-0 at the half.
When both coaches review this tape, they're going to say something to both the offense and the defense on that touchdown run. There's 22 players on the field. 21 of them stopped without a whistle being blown. The only one that didn't stop was the running back, Troy Johnson, and he scampers 37 yards for a touchdown.
We start out in the I formation. Some good yardage by Brendan Knight, the sophomore, who Coach Gare likes a lot. Came in with 17 rushes for just 75 yards. Here you see it again.
Toss, fullback leading up in through the hole.
Now again, just like Central, Hughesville came out throwing a little bit more. They've gone to the ground game. It hasn't been too successful. Surprised they haven't gone to the air more?
A little bit, but again, they need to control the time as well as, and every time you throw an incompletion, that clock stops.
Corson on the run. Is it intercepted or did it hit the ground? They say it hit the ground. It goes incomplete.
Xander Bradley made a valiant attempt here to pull this ball in.
Oh yeah,
short hop.
Little short hop. So third down on the way for the Spartans.
Not sure whether he was in position to come back and try to meet that ball. You know, when you're coaching people to catch the football, you want to tell them get their arms down and kind of scoop that pass. But I think his balance was shifted towards the downfield.
You're Hughesville, you want to keep this drive going. You don't need anything downfield. Here comes the blitz. They do get it out, and unfortunately, Knight fell down. Or I take that number 24.
About the 43-yard line. Brings up a 4th down and 5.
This is the one thing that I'm sure Coach Weir really cautioned about: 3 and out, 3 and out. 7:04. Field position again is going to switch in favor of the Blue Jays.
Pickeno pulls down the high snap. Taken at the 25-yard line by Jacob Reefer. And again, Central Columbia will have excellent field position right at midfield. So they've had good field position. First drive started at the 50, they scored. The last drive started at the Hughesville 45, they scored. Now they start at the 50 again.
They've controlled the clock. They've controlled it with their run game. Troy Johnson has done a good job up to this particular point. He had 132 yards in the 3 games, and he's probably getting close to 75 yards at this particular point.
He'll actually be in Hughesville's territory at the 48. Again, this is where they're getting tired. A lot of kids from Hughesville with their hands on their hips. Again, Coach mentioned with 9 players going both ways on the Spartans. McNeilis comes out.
The ball sailed a little bit on him.
Might have been if Corson looked up, he might have had a chance at an interception. Instead, it goes incomplete.
McNeilis throws a nice ball. Got good velocity on it, good direction. Steps into his throws a little high, a little sailed on him a little bit.
Trying to get it out to Eli Morrison. Handed off to Johnson, and he gets in an open field. Flag down, though. Johnson gets a W&L Subaru touchdown, but I think this one's coming back. There's a flag right at the 43-yard line. The referees are actually staying down here, so that tells me this will stay here. It is against Central Columbia.
I don't know how often Johnson has played prior to this season. That was a sensational run. The number of cuts that he made, the acceleration that he demonstrated, but once again, this is the 3rd down that the Blue Jays have picked up substantial yardage. It's been called back by holding penalties.
So now it's inside, back into Central territory at the 48. Brings up 2nd and 15. So mistakes by Central has cost them, well, right now, 1 touchdown at least.
Interestingly, the first down in this particular series was a pass. Prior to that, there was only 1 pass thrown. So I'm sure people are sitting here saying, well, why did they stop running the football?
Let's see if they go back to that run. Nope, McNeilis will survey. Cross field. They say he was down, and that he would be Jacob Reefer out there, who picks up 15 right to the line to gain. Looks like a first down.
You see a strong arm here. Steps into it. Combination route. One man ran deep on the corner and brought the inside receiver to the sidelines. Very effectively thrown by the quarterback.
$15 easy yards for the Blue Jays. Back to the ground. Tripped up is Johnson. Kelby Cordner, freshman, tripped him up.
If you're a running back, you love the number of touches you're getting repeatedly. In this case, Johnson has not been really stopped on any of his runs. His workload has been substantial.
And he really hasn't been touched in the backfield at
No.
all. He's being touched, 5 yards down the field?
If you watch the offensive front of the Blue Jays, they're really getting off the football.
That was a point of emphasis this week. Johnson to the outside, inside the Allied Services red zone to the 15. 18 yards for Troy Johnson.
The offensive line is simply overpowering the defensive front. of Hughesville. Johnson's just making his cuts where he's running into space. He's showing decent speed. And again, we see it's Ethan Snyder, the leading tackler, who makes the stop.
Blue Jays knocking on the door. Rayner shuffles through.
Only a sophomore, Austin Rayner picked up substantial yardage. Second and short 6.
When I was at practice this week for Central, the offensive line was getting a workout because coach was not happy with their run game last week against Lee Height.
As long as you and I have done these games, you've known what I've said week after week. The people who wear those numbers 50s to 70s, they're the ones that are going to determine the outcome of a game.
Rayner inside the 5, first and goal, Central Columbia.
Tackled there by number 2, Ethan Snyder, number 53, Cole.
Snyder again on the tackle.
And that is enough for another Central Columbia. First and goal from the 3.
It didn't start out well for Central this year. They played Mount Carmel. They were shut out in that game. In fact, they had -5 yards running against Mount Carmel. They definitely turned it around after 3 weeks. McNalis will keep it, get a block, and he will easily go in. And that is a W&L Subaru touchdown for Central Columbia.
Making your score Central Columbia 20, Hughesville nothing.
Fake the inside running play. Quarterback just keeps it on a bootleg to his left and waltzes into the end zone.
7 plays, 52 yards.
Great job done by number 54, Logan McWilliams, establishing an edge for the quarterback on that particular play.
Yordy's in, extra point is up and good. And now the Blue Jays extend their lead with 3:35 remaining here in the half. Paul Grippy found some friends. Let's see who we got.
Hey, Bob, I am in the Central Columbia student section, and if you haven't noticed yet, it is whiteout night. So all the students here have gotten the memo circulated to wear white. I didn't get the memo, but they are very supportive of the Blue Jays. They get here early. What time do you get here?
5:30.
And that's when the gates open, and you have any voice left?
No.
No, they've been screaming the whole time. They're very vocal. But not only are they happy, they have great smiles. And thanks to Casey Dental, we have Smile Cam. Everybody smile for Casey Dental.
And you can see how happy Paul is to be in that. Look at that smile on Paul.
They better watch out that they don't pick him up and surf him.
Well, one week we're going to have that happen. 1 week they're going to serve Paul Grippy. Casey Dental smile cam. Now we're back to a Keystone College kickoff for Central Columbia. Some time left for Hughesville, but really no offense to speak of at all for the Spartans this evening.
Nothing consistent.
No.
And they've got to be able to establish some kind of consistency.
This one deep from the 10, taken by Knight, past the 30, and that's where Hughesville will start another drive.
Now with 3:25 to go in the half, again, it's imperative that the Spartans of Hughesville move the football up the field. They certainly don't want to turn it over or give it up on downs to the Blue Jays, who might get another touchdown before the half is over. They still have 3 timeouts left.
So just one catch from their leading receiver, Ethan Snyder. See if they go back to him. Corson has some room, and he couldn't get that one block shed, or he would have had some open space, a nice job in the open field.
Zach Smith made a nice tackle at that particular point. Here you see it. Should get the head on the other side, but he did a good job of getting the shoulder in there and bringing down Corson.
Just a 3-yard gain, but he didn't make the tackle. There was a lot of green space out there. Corson, a baseball player, nice, good athlete for Hughesville.
Smaller schools such as Hughesville, they probably have a lot of their players, football players, who play other sports as well.
3 timeouts left for Hughesville. In and out of the hand of Pickeno.
Incomplete, intended for Dylan Pickeno.
Corson gets the ball out of his hands pretty quickly. When he's in that shotgun, he catches it and releases the ball with great quickness. But now they're in a 3rd down situation with 2:35 to go. And as we said a few moments ago, the Blue Jays have their 3 timeouts left.
This is an important down of the half, down 21-0 for Hughesville. Because they'll give Central Columbia the ball with good field position again. Here comes the blitz from the outside. They pick it up. And the short pass to Chance Webb. Gain of about 3, but they'll have to punt it back.
Again, we'll see here that Central Columbia called the timeout, the defensive court. By the way, talking to Coach Dennis, he heaped a tremendous amount of praise on his defensive coordinator. Didn't tell me what his name was, but he said he's really done a great job with this 3-5-3 defense. He said the kids are really playing very well and understand the scheme.
Central Columbia comes in off a win off Lehighton, 26-0.
E.J. Smith, by the way, is that defensive coordinator.
I knew you'd find it. They beat Shikellamy 24-3, and of course they opened up with that loss to Mount Carmel right here, 23-0. Next week, it doesn't get any easier for Coach Dennis. I know he's not thinking about that now, but Southern Columbia will be the opponent, and they will head down to Catawissa. And last report, the Tigers were already beating Shamokin pretty handily in the first quarter.
28-0.
And that was in the first quarter, so yeah. Yeah, so, you know, Southern Columbia, #1 in the state, nationally ranked team. Pretty good this season, I think. Well, Coach Dennis will tell you that they played Southern tough last year right here. Here goes Reefer. It's a W&L Subaru touchdown. Jacob Reefer on the punt return.
You're always hoping special teams make plays for you.
Let's look at this one again.
There he goes, straight up the field. There's not many blocks that are thrown. He really didn't need them. There's spacing there, and he uses his speed to get into the end zone.
63 yards for the senior. Extends the lead now for the Blue Jays. Yordy's PAT is up and through.
Friday Night Rivals is brought to you by the legendary taste of Grotto Pizza, a northeastern Pennsylvania favorite since 1953. Order online now at www.grottopizzapa.com. Well, Bob, 2:07 to go, 28-0.
Yep.
And the Blue Jays get the ball to start the second half, I believe.
They do. Not really a surprise, the score at this point, the way Hughesville's started out the season. Of course, they are missing one of their better players, Colton Yoakum, who is ineligible to play tonight, and that doesn't help.
Well, I'm sure Coach Dennis is pleased with the offense being able to establish the run, which was kind of absent last week. He traditionally likes to run the football, but he's shown a little bit of balance tonight, but the run game has been very effective.
Keystone College kickoff. Going to be taken from the 5 by Snyder. He was looking for a hole, and again, he'll bring it up past the 30. Oh, well, the 3 timeouts still on the board for Hughesville. Let's see if Coach Gare wants to open up the offense at all.
Ball's being spotted at the 33 where the Spartans take over first and 10.
After tonight's game, flip over to Fox 56 and watch Northeast and Central Pennsylvania's #1 10 o'clock news team.
Corson will start underneath center. Inside trap works. This is Delina, and he shoots through. Best yardage of the evening.
That's their best gain. It was simply a gut trap to the fullback up the middle. Brings the ball out to the 46-yard line.
Now it's a first and 10 for the Spartans.
Michael Delina, sophomore. Let's see if that opens things up a little bit now, down 28-0.
Well, what you don't want here is for the Blue Jays to get the ball back this half. There's a little over a minute and a half to go and 4 downs to kill that clock.
Almost the same play. This time the Blue Jays read it and
Mike Delina on the carry once again takes up the midfield where he's
taking up Carter Crawford on the tackle. Right at midfield.
Gain of 3 on the play brings up second and 7.
Carter Crawford, 15 tackles on the year, 3 sacks. He's a 6'3" junior. Plays the nose guard position in the 3-5-3.
Now this is a typical wing T set. And there's a bootleg.
Crawford completes it, and a late flag comes in. Let's see what this is. It's going to be inside Blue Jay territory, and we'll look at this one again.
Let's see if it's roughing the quarterback. Let's see what else it could possibly be out that area.
It's going to go against Hughesville. The preliminary call might have been illegal use of the hands by the referee tonight. Personal foul. Be a late push or something, but that negates what was an outstanding play. I don't know if we can see it. I think it came after the ball went downfield. There's the catch, and
there it is.
Yeah.
Somebody must have gotten blindsided.
Well, that backs them up to the 30-yard line, almost 31. Try to run it out a little bit. Michael Delina up for a couple. Let's see if Coach Dennis wants to use a couple of his timeouts, or he'll let this clock roll out.
I think that's going to be the half.
Coach Dennis will let this clock roll out, and on homecoming, the home team, Central Columbia, is going to take in a 28-0 lead over Hughesville in our Friday Night Rivals game of the week. Paul Grippy now with Coach Dennis.
Okay, Coach, you're up 28-0 at the half. It's pretty much the way you drew it up. How's your team executing?
Quite well. I mean, we got a couple things fixed there in the first quarter, and once we stopped holding, we started to move the ball a little better.
Yeah, a couple of penalties. Otherwise, it could be a little bit higher. But the pass game's there. The run game's working. You must have had a good week in practice.
We did. The offensive line's coming together. Garrett's starting to see things, and we wanted to get the running game going today, and we've had a good first half.
All right, Coach. We'll do the homecoming now, and then we'll see you in the third quarter. Okay, Coach Dennis, Central Columbia, up 28-0 at the half.
Thank you, Paul. As Paul mentioned, it is homecoming here at Central Columbia. We'll have an extended halftime of 20 minutes. So in that time, we'll hear from Allied Services. We'll hear for what's coming up on the Fox 56 News First at 10. Coach and I will be back in the booth with some highlights and stats from the first half, and we'll have a special guest as well. That's coming up on the Toyota Halftime Report. Right here at the Allied Services Friday Night Rivals game, Blue Jays up over the Spartans 28-0.
Friday Night Rivals is brought to you by Allied Services, Toyota, Let's Go Places, Figured Law Firm, Luzerne County Community College, Casey Dental, Keystone College, and Net Credit Union.
Halftime continues at Friday Night Rivals, and we step away from the stadium, and we're at Allied Services campus in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and joined by Bill Conaboy, the president and CEO of Allied Services. Bill, Allied has grown into such an enormous presence in northeastern Pennsylvania over the years. What makes it such a special and unique organization?
I appreciate you saying that, because we really have grown over the past 61 years. And I honestly believe Allied Services is one of the most unique healthcare systems in the country. And here's why. First, because we embrace our not-for-profit status, and we're committed to our mission. And as part of that mission, and as a not-for-profit, actually we're owned by the communities where we serve. And that right now is about 25 counties in Northeast and Central Pennsylvania. We're also governed by a volunteer board of community leaders. And those community leaders have allowed us, as management here at Allied Services, to reinvest millions of dollars into our facilities, into technology, and most importantly, into our people. And speaking of our people, you know, people don't realize we have nearly 4,000 employees living, working, recreating, worshiping, and being involved in the communities where they live. So we love that our employees are a huge part of this community. And then, of course, the services that we offer. Again, I don't think many people realize that right here in our valley are two of the top rehab hospitals in the country, consistently ranked that by outside agencies. Also, within those hospitals, we have our new state-of-the-art transitional units, which allow people that maybe don't need the level of care in our hospitals to stay in our transitional units for a short period of time and try to get them home. And as well, we have our skilled nursing facilities. At this point, we have nearly 500 skilled nursing beds. And we offer services in those skilled nursing facilities that no one else offers. State-of-the-art ventilator units, Alzheimer's care, wound care, etc. We're very proud of those. Also ranked within the top skilled nursing facilities in this country. Then our other services, of course, home health, where we bring medical professionals into the home throughout this community. Our in-home services, which we bring non-medical people into the home to help people to stay at home and live their lives as best they can. We have 18 outpatient clinics, again located throughout northeastern and central Pennsylvania, with just outstanding clinicians there that offer speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. Then we also have vocational training, behavioral health, mental health, all those services, again, which many people aren't aware of. Most recently, we entered the hospice service for this community. We built a beautiful new inpatient hospice, and we provide hospice in home. So we do so many different things that I'm not aware of many healthcare systems throughout the country that do all those. As well, in thinking about it, we have a school located on our campus here in Scranton for children with special needs that maybe other school systems aren't able to provide. So we do so many different things, and we bring so much to this community that I'm really honored to play a small role here at Allied Services.
Well, really, it's a part of our lives, because over the course of your life, you either know someone or maybe you yourself who will have an Allied Services and go to an Allied facility at some point. Bill Conaboy, the president and CEO of Allied Services in northeastern and central Pennsylvania, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for your support and the work that you do. And we'll be back with more Halftime right after this on MyTV WQMY.
We are back at Blue Jays Stadium in SB Columbia County. The home team at homecoming leads Hughesville 28-0. Before the game, Brandon Kishball, a physical therapist from Allied Services, presented Kevin Morgan, the athletic director here, a check for $250 from the Friday Night Rivals team. We thank Central Columbia and the administration here for welcoming us to a beautiful night of high school football here in Columbia County. We are back inside the booth. Bob Ide and Stan Koharski, and Central Columbia up 28-0. Coach, it's been a lot of Troy Johnson, a lot of the run game for Central Columbia.
Yes, I'd like to give a shout out to that offensive front. 2 seniors, 2 juniors, and a sophomore. We have Logan McWilliams, Sam Azad, Jacob Moyer, Alex Stevelin, and Josh Cohen, who've really spearheaded this ground game. You watch the game and you can see a lot of blue shirts knocking the white shirts back quite a bit, and giving Johnson a lot of running room.
Yeah, you mentioned the offensive line, but the defense has held Hughesville in check. About 50 yards of total offense for the Spartans this evening.
They're trying to get a balance between their run and the pass game. The quarterback has thrown some poor passes in the sense that they've been overthrown to the receivers. But again, we see that the Blue Jays have really dominated this game. It's 28-0. It could have been a little bit worse if it not were for some penalties that they had, holding penalties.
Let's take a look at some first half highlights if you want, and we will. And it was Central Columbia capping their first drive of the game of 50 yards. Troy Johnson with his first of 2. Then this is an interesting one. Watch this play, Coach, and no whistle.
No whistle. You can see that he was on the back of number 18, and his knees never touched. And as I said earlier, no whistle. You got to keep playing. Everybody kind of froze, and they stopped except for the runner. And
then Garrett McNeil, the quarterback, takes it in for the 3rd touchdown. This really broke it open on the punt return. About 67 yards for one senior, Jacob Reefer. Made it look easy, and that's where we stand at the half, 28-0. Well, the homecoming ceremony is over. We'll take a quick timeout, and when we return, Paul Grippy will be back on the sidelines with a special guest.
Looks like everyone in town is here tonight. It's homecoming, Central Columbia, and I'm joined by the new principal at Central Columbia, Adam Comstock. Now, Adam, you are a graduate of Central Columbia, but you are working in South Carolina as an assistant principal. Yeah. What made you decide to come back and take over this position?
Well, this is really the only job I would ever come up to Pennsylvania for. Dream job. Born and raised here, and I'm just excited to be back home and around all these great people,
What's the main thing that you'd like to do to influence this school as principal?
Well, I think maintain and what we have, and then obviously move us forward with our Chapter 339 programs, with our music programs, athletics, so on and so forth. So basically, it's the whole academics, arts, and athletics, and just excel in all 3 of those things.
Well, I can speak for athletics. Your football team's pretty good. Arts, the band is fantastic. Academics, I'm sure, are good. I'll get around and visit the classrooms at some point as well, too. So you enjoy being back here, though?
Oh, absolutely. Love it. It's been a dream come true for me, and, I can't wait to see what the rest of the year holds.
All right. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Good job crowning the homecoming queen.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And hopefully the football team can get you a win.
Absolutely.
Bob, he's back home. Adam Comstock, the principal, back at Central Columbia.
His first homecoming back. So far, so good, Coach. His team up big. So if you're Hughesville, I give them a lot of credit. Each week, they to the person I talk to, they say they put it behind them. But at some point, it has to start to wear on you when you don't win and you're not competitive in some of the games.
I think a lot of it has to do with the physical mismatches. When you're overwhelmed physically because the other team is a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, there's not much you can do about that. Adam Ware said this before. He said his kids are playing as hard as they possibly can, and there's nothing more that you can ask. It is what it is. Sometimes the talent disparity is that great. And what we're seeing here is a Central Columbia team who's physically beating up on Hughesville, and they're just going to have to do the best they possibly can to hold the score down. They're kicking off now. If Central is able to get the ball in the end zone, we're going to see that clock continuously run.
Blake Sherwood is ready for the Keystone College kickoff, and the second half is underway at Central Columbia. The Blue Jays get the kickoff. As number 4, Calvin Markle. Number 8 had it, Jacob Reefer. Apologize. He brings it up for Central Columbia to begin their first drive at the 36-yard line. That will
I would suspect that we're going to see pretty much what we saw in the first half. Again, to reestablish the run, we'll be able to tell by the sets to some degree. Here we see McNellis is in the shotgun.
Troy Johnson unofficially 14 carries, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns. As McNellis comes out throwing, he hits his big tight end Garrett Carter over the middle, picks up 11.
I'm impressed with the quarterback. He's shown some poise here. He certainly appears to have a fairly strong arm. And there you see Carter, who's pretty big, 6'3", 215, linebacker, defensive end, linebacker, excuse me, and tight end.
Very similar to the way they started their first possession of the game. They threw it and then they went to the ground game. They have 18 carries, 168 yards on the ground, but they're going to try to air it out and get this one open up, and they can't hit Xander Bradley downfield.
Protection was excellent that time. You can see that McNellis stayed just slightly overthrown. Great effort by Xander Barkley.
One thing Central did have coming back was experience at the wide receiver position with Carter, Bradley, and Morrison. So that has helped McNellis a lot. On third down, they go to Johnson, and he'll pick up the first down and more. Up inside the 30-yard line.
Johnson's shown a lot of elusiveness. He's a little bit of a power runner, but when he gets into the open field, he uses his feet and tries to influence the direction of the would-be tackler. Then there you see the quickness of his feet. It breaks a tackle there, picks up another 3 or 4 yards. That's what you like about your backs. You don't want them to go down on first contact.
McNellis in the flat, in and out of the hands of Morrison. Nice pass, though.
It was a flood pattern. You had layers of receivers, one in the flat, one intermediate, and one all the way down towards the end zone. Again, a pretty well thrown pass. Receiver slapped it down. He should have reversed his hands on that catch it.
This is the time Scott Dennis likes to work on stuff for the next week? Or is it he's just going back to the offense, back to Bradley? Great tackle out there by Delina.
That's an offensive approach you see a lot of teams using. It's like a run. Throw the ball out to the flat, and you have your wide receivers who are going to block. It's spin out of the tackle by Barkley, who hasn't been really involved in the offense too much tonight.
No, Xander Bradley. Yeah, he came in with 14 catches, 230 yards. He was their leading receiver coming in. He's been targeted a couple times here on this drive. Back to number 25. Great block by Carter. Johnson tough inside the Allied Services red zone to the 7. First and goal, Blue Jays.
Johnson gets the ball and he just bounces it to the outside. Showed a lot of power. There's a stiff arm that he uses here. Takes on another tackler. The Blue Jays simply are overpowering the Spartans of Hughesville, especially at the line of scrimmage.
Big push from that line, and
touchdown.
It is a W&L Subaru touchdown for the Blue Jays. Johnson gets his 3rd touchdown of the night, extends this lead now.
Well, I'm sure Coach Dennis is thrilled to see the Blue Jays run the football the way they have. And Bob, one of the things that I'm sure is making him happy, he's got a nice mixture in terms of some underclassmen who are starters and effectively contributing to the offense particularly.
Mason Yorty's extra point is good. Making your score, Blue Jays 35, Spartans nothing.
So the kick up by Mason Yorty is good again. and into the 35-0 range we go. So that means the clock will roll now for this second half. As Hughesville will get their first touch of the second half. And Scott Dennis's team, as they get set for Southern Columbia next week, heading down there, we'll see how that works out. But, you know, they'll worry about game to game, but they're also worried, you know, about the District 4, you know, classification, as they're AAA, I believe, and that's a fight amongst themselves. We'll take a look at their standings in a little while.
Soccer, cross country, swimming, and track and field while at Central. As a swimmer, she was an 8-time district champion.
We have to check and see if this Yordi's is it Yordi, the kicker, whether he's a soccer player.
In District 4. She continued her athletic career by lettering in swimming and water polo at Queens
Most
Creek
likely.
University. She was a 6th grade teacher at Southern Columbia.
So it's another Keystone College kickoff for Central Columbia. Knight takes it up to the 16-yard line.
16-yard line. Taken down by number 5, Logan Gillespie.
Settled in for a full day of Fox College football tomorrow. Starting at noon, it's number 6 ranked Ohio State at Indiana, followed by Arizona State and Michigan State. Finish with the primetime game of Oklahoma and the UCLA Bruins at 8. Saturday college football on Fox 56.
So that scoring drive was 7 plays, 68 yards, timeout Central Columbia, and I think we're going to see some of the backups possibly coming in.
Well, I'm sure one of the things that Coach Dennis is going to consider that he certainly wants to come out of this game healthy. He's got a 35-point lead here. It would be a good opportunity for him to get some of his reserves in so that they go into next week against Southern as healthy as they possibly can.
Here's what Central Columbia has on tap. We mentioned Southern, then they Danville at South Williamsport, Warrior Run, Lewisburg, and Bloomsburg. Not an easy schedule in there. A couple teams winning records right now, and you know it's not going to be easy for Central Columbia to get into that district playoffs.
Not at all. It's trying. It's going to be trying. They're going to have to play hard.
The big news in this part of the Heartland Conference was the resignation, I believe, of Jim Kaiser, the Danville coach. A lot of talk about that in the papers and throughout this valley. Kaiser there a long time at Danville. We saw him last year for the last couple of years as we take a look at this run by Corson. And that's just part of high school football.
It's unfortunate. Yeah, of course, everyone is speculating as to why the Danville administration went in the direction that they did. That's not for us to speculate.
But give the kids a lot of credit. They're playing hard each week for the Ironmen. There's that quick fullback trap. And again, for some positive yardage, Michael Delina up for a first down.
That's been their most effective run. Just a quick trap up the middle, quick hitter. And with the penetration that we're seeing out of the defensive front, that is a good play.
And I believe we do have some, as they say, clean jerseys in there for Central Columbia. Some new numbers being put forth. We'll try to get those to you as they make the tackles. Here's Knight, up for about 9.
This use of reserves is going to pay dividends in the long run. You get your younger players or your second teamers into the football game with a lot of time to go, and they pick up this experience. As I've said repeatedly, you can't replace that experience that you're going to pick up in a game situation.
Back to Knight, first down, nice hole.
Typical wing tee buck sweep.
Brendan Knight on the carry.
Looked like Chris Funson, a sophomore over there, number 71, with the tackle. As we shuffle players in and out for the Blue Jays now.
Here, typical wing T set. Power play to the right.
Up inside Spartan territory.
Takes it down to the 46-yard line.
Fortunately, I don't have a number for number
24.
We don't have a number for him on the roster.
Pierce. Second down and 3 for the Spartans.
But that was a nice run, though. Like to give credit to him.
It's kind of like that masked singer on TV.
On Fox, yeah. That's coming back. Delina shedding some tackles up to the 30, so Hughesville on the move.
He's been very effective the few times that he's run the ball. That I think is his fourth carry.
Yep.
Ball's being spotted right at the 30-yard line. We're going to be first and 10 for the Spartans.
Hughesville still battling. Best field position now. Best drive of the evening. Trailing 35-0.
Delina's only a sophomore. He looks a little bit bigger than the 155.
Number 24 on the carry.
Coach Gear is using his base offense. If they're a wing T, basically a wing T team, again, that's a sweep. Both guards are going to pull and lead the tailback.
And the one thing I talked to Coach Gare about, and you know this, when you don't have numbers like this, it's tough to practice. He's the type of guy who wants to coach hard, coach tackling, let them hit in practice. But unfortunately, they can't do that as Corson swings a nice pass inside the 15. Connects it to number 19, Chance Webb. And they're inside the Allied Services red zone. But you see this pass again. But that's tough on a team when you don't have enough players even to go through tackle drills and stuff like that, because you can't afford to have injuries.
In my coaching experience, there have been times where I haven't had enough players on the field to go 11 on 11,
right.
And my coaches and myself had to serve as defenders or leaders or whatever the case might be. There's Delina again.
Yeah, he shed some tackles, and he's in for a W&L Subaru touchdown for Hughesville. His first of the season for Michael Delina, the sophomore.
Bob, you made an interesting point. Practice is designed to get you better, and the more you get it against quality second teamers, they get better, you get better when you're challenged. If you're not challenged in practice, your growth and development as a player is it's not going to be what you'd like it to be.
The extra point is up, and it is good. Making your score, Central Columbia 35.
Justice Lego puts it up and through, number 23, and Hughesville on the board. Cuts into the Central Columbia lead. Just around 4.5 minutes to play.
Sponsor J.O. Tents and Events, specializing in tents, tables, and chairs for your next event. Please support J.O. Tents and Events at 394.
Well, there's a disparity between our clock and the clock at the end of the field there.
They've been providing Thursday night meals for our football team.
So there's Adam Gary, played there, 2003 graduate. Has been on the staff as an assistant for many years for Hughesville. Finally took over last year, and things just have not gone his way with the numbers and the wins. So we're setting up for a Keystone College kickoff for Blake Sherwood, number 20. We'll see who is back to receive as we have some more clean jerseys in. Nice kickoff. It's going to go into the end zone. Yeah, for a touchback.
In the end zone for a touchback. The Blue Jays take over first and 10 from the 20.
Imagine getting a nurse's aide scholarship and tuition assistance while getting paid as a CNA. Allied Services has excellent career opportunities for RNs, LPNs, and CNAs. Visit allied-services.org/careers today.
5:02 remaining, and the clock will roll now into the second half. And we'll check out number 9 will be the quarterback now, Logan Welcome. He's a freshman. Still a nice hole. Up through number 6 gets it. Nathan Smith, another freshman.
Well, this has turned perhaps into the JV game that they might have played on Monday.
And I would suspect that Hughesville is not playing a JV game because they don't have enough numbers, so good practice for both teams. As Hughesville's very young, just 7 seniors on the team. Give it up past the 30-yard line.
One of the aims that most coaches have is for the game to slow down for players. When you're young and you're perhaps not experienced, the game is very fast. And when you get people into a competitive situation and they get more acclimated and comfortable with what they're supposed to do, the game slows down for them.
Up past the 35.
Isaac Kester on the carry. Takes it out across the 35-yard line. We'll call that a gain of about 5. Tackle the play by number
Isaac
71,
Kester, junior, number 44.
brings up a second
His
and
first
5
carry of the night. Hughesville will like to go to their bench, but you know they don't have a lot of kids over there.
Well, whoever they have, they're probably going to get some playing time tonight.
They do. They do have a couple of. I see some of the starters out. Shooting through is Nate Smith, this freshman.
Smith on the carry, takes it into Hughesville territory.
Up into Hughesville territory.
Taken down at the
Just a
40
toss
yard
towards their
First and 10 for the Jays.
the bench of the Spartans. And you can tell these players are young. You can see physically that they certainly have not matured at this particular point. And I know they're excited to be in the game at this point, especially on homecoming.
Fumble. Up the snap.
Fumble on the play.
It will remain Hughesville ball. So let's take a look at some of the District 4 standings as the ball's placed at 49. 4A, Jersey Shore starting to take that over, but again, they're losing tonight to Mount Carmel. Selinsgrove's playing their river game against Shikellamy, and they're winning that game. You have Midwest in there, Columbia, Montourville Tech, and Shikellamy on a little bit of a losing streak as well. So you would think it's going to probably be Selinsgrove and Jersey Shore in the finals for 4A in District 4. Of course, Jersey Shore lost last week to Montoursville. Welcome's going to take it himself.
Logan Welcome on the carry.
Goes out of bounds.
Pushed out of bounds for
As the clock is going to push right towards through this third quarter.
Bringing up a 3rd down and 12.
When you watch younger players, a lot of it is upright position. They don't drop their hips as much as you'd like them to. A lot of tackling with the arms instead of using your shoulder pads. And again, that will change as you pick up the experience necessary to become a good football player.
Freshman's going to air it out. His first pass. Great catch in there. And still on his feet is number 16, Mason Yordy. The kicker is in for a W&L touchdown for Central Columbia. Nice job coming back for the ball.
Absolutely.
I don't know if he's a soccer player. He looks like a football player there, Coach.
We'll have to check that out. He's a dual threat. Now, if we can see this replay here, the quarterback really puts a lot of air under it. And Yordy, look at those moves.
Sheds a tackle and
he knows enough to run away from the defender.
He does, and now he has to kick it. No, they're going to go for 2. pass to the inside is complete to number 22, Dante Bankus, the sophomore, gets the 2-point conversion.
Oh, it'll be a happy day in the halls of Central Columbia on Monday for these young players. Did you see my touchdown?
Yeah, that was a nice pass and catch, and a nice
Inside
pass
receiver,
there.
just a release.
So in 3 years when we come back, maybe we'll see Mr. Welcome at quarterback. Of course, Devlin was here last year. The quarterback was a very good quarterback. So Central extends this lead now, so we'll get to the Keystone College kickoff. Trying to get some players in there as we are shuffling players around on special teams now for Central Columbia. So Yordi not only has to catch the touchdown, now he has to kick off to the other team. So it's a Keystone College kickoff for Central. He does a nice job with the leg. Knight again, excuse me, almost lost the ball up to the 30.
Brendan Knight on the return out to about the 30-yard line. Taken down hard there by number 22, Dante Bankus. 1st and 10 for the Spartans at the 30.
At Quad A Driving Academy, our students do not have to go to the DMV to take their test. They test with us. Less stress means a higher pass rate. We are the only full-service driving training school able to serve Luzerne, Lackawanna, and nearby counties. Check us out at quadadrive.com.
Corsom comes back out for Hughesville. He'll give it to Knight again, and Knight sheds some tackles and lowers his shoulder for a nice 17-yard gain.
You have to like what you see here with Coach Gear's approach. He's got his younger players in. If they are truly a wing T team, that's what they've run. They're running that buck sweep, the gut trap. So he's educating these young men into the offensive philosophy that he enjoys and that he embraces.
3 quarters in the book here at SB. It's been all Central Columbia on homecoming.
Okay, as we get set to start the 4th quarter here, I'm joined by a student at Central Columbia, John Fote. Now, John did something special. He created a seating area for Logan, and Logan is sitting behind me. So tell me what we have here. Logan uses a wheelchair, and he had trouble getting into the bleachers?
Yes, he would sit over there in the handicap section, but he was too far away from the student section to really feel included. So what we did was we made a platform to level up 2 steps so he could sit there with us.
And why did we do that for Logan?
Because here we really just want everybody to feel included. As you can see, we have a great student section, and adding another Blue Jay to it always makes me feel better.
And tell me, Logan is a student at the school?
Yes, he is a freshman this year.
Okay, and he needs a little help getting around, I guess. I mean, how did you come to know him?
I actually met Logan a few years ago when my brother played on his soccer team.
And Logan is his brother?
No, Logan, no. My little brother was on his team.
Oh, okay, and that's how you got to know Logan?
Yeah, that's how I first met Logan.
And has Logan got a lot of friends? I mean, does everyone know him around here?
Everyone knows Logan, and everyone loves Logan.
Okay, and he seems like a pretty passionate football fan, too,
yes,
right?
Yes, he is.
Okay. How's he enjoying the night?
I check up with him every once in a while. He's really having fun.
Okay, and that's going to be there pretty much every game, so he'll be able to come and watch, right?
Every game he wants to be at, that's going to be there.
What's it mean to you that he can do that?
It just means a lot to me because I know when I first came here, I wasn't exactly too avid to get into the student section, but he really was. So it makes me feel good, making him feel good.
And he's sitting there looking as happy as can be. All right, John, you did a good job. That's really nice. John Fote, a student here at Central Columbia, and he's making sure Logan can sit there and watch the game with the rest of the students every night, Bob. And they're having a good time in that section.
They do. It's a whiteout tonight, Coach. You see Logan in the background there enjoying the game. passionate football fan, as feels part of the student section, and that's the biggest thing.
Service to others is something that you'd really like to see among young people today. As we're watching this, Michael Deline is having a terrific night for himself as a runner. He's running real hard. You can see he gets those hips down.
On the first down carry, taken down by number 5, Logan Gillespie. Actually, we'll call it a gain of 10. That'll be a first down for the Spartans at the Blue Jay 19.
So Hughesville on the move again. We have the backup quarterback is in there, Jediah Webb, it looks like, a freshman, number 12. That's number 4 again, Delina, the sophomore.
I thought he was a little bit bigger than his listed weight. It's just that he runs fairly low to the ground and he drops his hips, which is a good sign for running backs.
2 times in a row now, Hughesville's into the Allied Services red zone.
Gain of about 3 or 4 on that play. Taken down by number 28, Ellis Turner.
Number 24 again runs the ball.
Called a gain of 2 on the play.
That's one of the players we don't have his name.
We don't have his name from
24,
the roster. And either did the PA announcer as well. So I didn't.
Well, we apologize.
We didn't have time to run across and get a name. Again, we apologize for that. Call out the numbers we do have.
That was number
Garrett
23 or 33. That was a little mix-up on this. So you can see that number 24 went got in the way of the runner.
Into the rolling clock. Oh, we will tell you, Southern Columbia has beaten Shamokin tonight 62-0.
That's
they have not given up any points this year.
4 games. They're a remarkable football program, not just a team, but a program. Coach Roth, of course, has demonstrated that he historically is one of the best in the state ever.
So it's 1st and goal for Hughesville inside the Allied Services red zone from the 9, trying to get their 2nd touchdown of the evening.
They're in an unbalanced line.
They coughed it up Hughesville, but it went right back to his hands. But one thing we haven't called out are, turnovers for Hughesville, which they had 11 coming into the game. They were just outmanned tonight.
The size disparity between the lines, the offensive and defensive lines, is very apparent, not only visually, but in terms of performance level.
Back to the 9 they go, Hughesville.
Central Columbia using a lot of blitzes by inside linebackers. One of their linebackers, I think it was number 40, was able to almost take the handoff from the quarterback.
Brendan Knight to the eye, gets the ball. A couple of big hits in there from the Blue Jays defense.
Taken down for no gain on the play again by number 44.
And it'll become 4th down now for the Spartans.
Brings up a 4th and goal.
So this defense is, which a lot of backups on it right now, has given up some yardage, but they have made 3 good stops.
They have.
Mr. Snyder, it will be behind the home bleachers. He's there now, so if you need to ride back over to the main entrance, please go back behind the bleachers.
They go to the air, and we're going to have a flag down in the end zone.
It looks like it's going to be pass interference.
Or a hold, right? Well, possible
one
hold.
or the other. That was a waggle to the right off a run fake.
Defensive pass interference. That'll be assessed down to the 3.5-yard line, half the distance. It'll still be 4th down.
4th and goal now. Hear from a referee. So on 4th down, we'll see if Hughesville can do anything with it with Jediah Webb, the freshman quarterback. To the end zone, a big push, no signal, and no touchdown. So Central Columbia holds at the 1-yard line. So turnover on downs. As you see, it just couldn't get there, Coach.
No, they couldn't, and the ball looks like it's on the half-yard line. So Central's got to make sure that they don't score or give up a safety here.
It's 28-0 at the half in favor of Central.
Scored on the first
they
series.
Scored the first series of the
35.
second half to put it into the mercy rule. That's where we've stood since then. Central's going to take over on the 1.
Bob, what are your thoughts on the mercy rule?
Timeout. We'll take a look at, let's see if we want to go to a break. We will. Quick break here. It's all Central Columbia here in Espy. It's a happy homecoming in Espy tonight. Central Columbia leading Hughesville, so we'll be celebrating in the streets, no doubt.
Well, it's a nice homecoming victory. Keep the student body happy.
I know Coach was worried because he 1-2 coming in. He's in his 3 years here. This is his 4th year, so he evens that Spirit Week record up to 2-2.
Well, you worried, or at least you mentioned about the focus, and certainly the Blue Jays did have that focus tonight. They weren't bothered by the peripheral activities, the parades and homecoming queen.
Well, distractions. A lot of distractions for the kids this week, but he made sure that this team was focused coming in.
That's always the case in all athletic contests. You have to stay focused on the job and task at hand. Quarterback sneak to get the ball out of the end zone area. The ball is about the 7-yard line.
Movement. Trying to get a score from the Selinsgrove-Shikellamy game. Going into the 4th quarter, the Seals lead the Indians 37-6. So a tough year for Shikellamy. We saw those 4A standings. Momentarily, we're going to look at 3A. That's where Central Columbia will fall in. So third down play on the way.
This is a good opportunity for the younger players, especially the linemen, to get off the football. One of the things that if you're looking carefully, is you see a lot of people not in a good football posture. They're upright. Again, they start blocking with their hands per se, instead of getting off the ball, keeping a low posture.
There are the 3A standings. We'll keep looking at those. Montoursville, Mifflinburg, the big surprise, and they already beat Hughesville. Loyal Sock, we will see next week. Danville hanging in there. Warrior Run playing Montoursville tonight, and there's Central Columbia. So I believe 6 teams get in. No, 8 teams, because it's an 8-team thing.
Well, Shamokin will drop to 2-2, or they did tonight, correct?
Yeah. Of course, next week we have the Battle of the Bridge, Loyal Sock and Montoursville. Both teams on a roll. Loyal Sock, of course, lost the first week to North Schuylkill. Did have some players out of that game because of a car accident. So they have gotten things rolling, but Chase Kavanaugh quarterbacking. Shear, the quarterback from Montoursville. So we'll see a good game, a good rivalry game next week.
I was surprised at how small, if that's the best word, that Chase Kavanaugh has. He picked up a lot of experience last year when Connor Watkins was injured. And I think if I read it correctly, he was their leading offensive yardage gainer as a runner as well as throwing the football. And he's not very big. You and I saw him at the media day, and he's not a big kid.
A little big block put on them, that run.
Nathan Smith on the carry.
No flag, but here's what we have coming up. We get back to work next week. Of course, we'll head to Loyal Sock, another Heartland Conference game. Then we're anticipating a great game in District 2, 4A. Berwick taking on Valley View. 2 great single A teams. Old Fort ranked number 1 in single A throughout the state. They had a big win tonight. Lackawanna Trail rebounding, and then we'll head up to Wallenpaupack as Wilkes-Barre area, the Wolfpack, who are actually losing tonight to Delaware Valley, but have opened up a successful schedule as they've combined the 3 high schools in the Wilkes-Barre area. So that's what we have on tap. Looking forward to seeing that Battle of the Bridge next week.
Well, as we've talked about this, Bob, we're going into week 5.
Yeah.
It's just amazing how fast the season progresses. We started on the 23rd, I believe, of August. Here it is. It's the 13th of September, and half the schedule's pretty close to being concluded.
Hughesville next week will take on Wellsboro at home. So the schedule's not any easier for Hughesville. They still have to play Warrior Run in there. They play Towanda as well. There's no easy wins on the schedule for Hughesville. And Coach Gear knows that, and he's fully aware. And he even said to us, if we win, it will be an upset. But give credit to Hughesville. They came in, they play hard every game. They'll forget about this one, they'll move on. Didn't look like anybody was injured, so that's a very positive point, Coach.
It is, and he, as you just said, but Adam stressed this to us, his kids have played hard. And as I said earlier, there's not much more that you can ask of them.
Okay, let's go down to Paul Grippy with the winning coach.
Okay, Coach, you won this one comfortably, 43-7. How do you feel about your team's play tonight?
Well, I think we were a lot better than we were week 1, and that's what's important to me. You know, each week we've gotten better offensively. Again, as I said earlier, we knew our defense was going to be decent, but, you know, the offense is coming around nicely.
And what does 3 wins in a row say about your team?
Well, it says a lot about them, because I don't think a lot of people had great expectations for our team losing as many great seniors as we did last year, but you know, this group has come together, and they're a really tight team, and they're playing well together.
All right, thanks, Coach. Congratulations, and we'll have our players of the game in a moment.
Thank you, Paul. Coach Dennis with a big win in the books. We'll have our Allied Services players of the game coming up shortly. There is the final score, 43-7. Not much of a surprise. Central Columbia getting ready now for Southern Columbia next week down in Catawissa. We're going to have the alma mater being played, so A lot of good plays. They did what they wanted to do. They ran the ball. Unofficially, I have Troy Johnson around 185 yards, about 18 carries. So that's what they wanted to do. They established the run, and they come out with a win.
Well, when you have a little less experience than you'd like at the offensive line, to be able to progress after the fourth game is a good sign for Coach Dennis. As we've said in pregame, Bob, he loves to run the football. And tonight they ran it very effectively. It might have been their best night in the course of this season for them to be able to rush the football.
Now they will be tested next week, no doubt, with the Tigers. And we saw their schedule, some winnable games on there. But that 3A is going to be very tough just to get into the playoffs in District 4. District 4, 2A, pretty much all Southern Columbia, as you might expect. Mount Carmel, their biggest rival, they already beat them handily. So that is pretty much going to be wrapped up there. So Paul is going to track down our players of the game. Brought to you by Allied Services. Want to thank our crew here. Great night for football here in Espy. We have a trophy to give out. Coach Dennis now wants to talk to the team as well. So this is what happens in these kind of games. Everyone wants to get out of here, Coach.
Well,
let's go down to Paul right now. Paul.
Okay, Bob, I have our Allied Services players of the game. First, it's Troy Johnson, running back for Central Columbia. You guys seem to win this one comfortably. What was it like in practice this week that made you think this could happen?
I mean, we were really focused in practice. Everything was crisp, and we were just enforcing, like, do it right, do it right, do it right. We need no mistakes, and we did that today.
Passing, running, how'd the offense feel tonight?
Nice and smooth, no, like, mistakes. Just all went clean. I don't know. It was great.
Good night. You had a good effort, and I also have Allied Services Player of the Game, Jake Reefer, with me tonight. 3 wins in a row now. What does that say about your team?
It says we fight hard. We don't give up. I mean, first game was a little rough, and we bounced back really hard. And, the next games we got to keep fighting. Got some big games coming up on the schedule, and I think we can do it.
All right.
Got to keep going.
You think tonight's game deserves a trophy?
I think it does.
Here's the Allied Services Friday Night Rivals trophy. Congratulations to Central Columbia. You guys got it.
Well, they're pretty excited about that, and why not? Congratulations to Central Columbia. They get ready for Southern, as we said. Hughesville will head to take on Wellsboro, and a big third win for Central Columbia.
They're on a roll, and that's what the coach hoped. Each game they'd get better and better. As the young men just mentioned, the first game was a little tough, but from that point they've done pretty well.
That they have. Next week, Montoursville Loyalsock, right here on MyTV WQMY, starting at 7 o'clock. So the entire Fox 56 Sports crew, our Friday Night Rivals team, for Paul Grippy, Stan Karski, this is Bob Hyde saying so long from Central Columbia.
You're watching Allied Services Friday Night Rivals on MyTV WQMY.